At the family birthday toast, my uncle called me the lesson, and my mom didn't disagree. He held his wine glass up like he was about to say something sweet, like the kind of toast you can clap for without thinking. The restaurant was loud in that warm, crowded way. Cutlery clinking, people laughing too hard, the smell of garlic and fried food hanging in the air. We had a long table in the back for Dad's 62nd birthday, and Mom had arranged it like an event. Printed place cards, matching napkins, even little gold balloons tied to the chair behind Dad. I was halfway through chewing a bite of chicken when my uncle stood up, cleared his throat, and the whole table quieted with that eager attention families give whoever has the floor. My uncle smiled broadly, cheeks already flushed from wine, and said, "To my brother, still strong, still the anchor of this family. And to all of us, remember, family teaches lessons. Some of us are the pride, and some of us are the lesson." He turned his head and looked straight at me, like he'd placed a spotlight on my chair. For a second, my body didn't move. My fork froze in my hand. My mouth went dry around the food I was trying to swallow. I felt heat rush up my neck, that prickling embarrassment that makes your skin feel too tight. Around the table, there was that half-second pause where everyone checks what the group reaction should be. Then a few people laughed. Quickly, automatically, like they were late to a cue. My cousin snorted into his drink. My sister Chloe's smile spread, delighted. Dad let out a low chuckle and glanced away like he didn't want to be involved but also didn't want to stop it. And Mum sat there with her hands folded in her lap, smiling politely at my uncle like he'd just complimented the entree. She didn't frown. She didn't say, "That's not appropriate." She didn't even look uncomfortable. She just let it land. I felt something inside me collapse, quiet and heavy. I forced myself to swallow, but my throat didn't want to cooperate. The food felt like sand. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear in my ears, louder than the restaurant noise. I looked at Mum, waiting for her eyes to meet mine, waiting for a flicker of no, or "I'm sorry," or even "we're not doing that." But she kept looking at my uncle, smile still there, like she was committed to the performance of a nice family dinner. My uncle lifted his glass higher and kept going. "Warmed up now. You know," he said, voice booming, "we all have someone in the family who reminds us what happens when you don't stay on track." He laughed lightly, like it was harmless. "So here's to staying on track, eh?" A few more laughs. Someone clinked a glass. Chloe clapped once, like it was a joke at comedy night. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might actually get sick. I set my fork down carefully because my hand was starting to shake. The metal made a small, sharp sound against the plate that felt too loud. My uncle's eyes flicked to it, and he smirked like he'd achieved what he wanted. Dad's friends, people who weren't even family, laughed politely, confused but following along. My aunt's husband smiled like he was pretending not to notice the target. Even the waitstaff paused nearby, holding a tray, waiting for the toast to end. I heard myself say, very softly, "What do you mean?" The words barely made it past my lips, but my uncle heard them. He tilted his head, still smiling. "Oh, come on," he said. "Don't get sensitive. You know what I mean. You've always been different." He waved his hand vaguely. "Anyway, to your dad." He raised his glass again, and everyone chimed in louder, "To Dad. Happy birthday," as if the group cheer could wash the moment clean. Dad smiled and nodded, soaking it in. Mum leaned toward Dad, hand on his arm. Chloe was already turning to talk to her husband, buzzing with the energy of it. The room moved on, and I sat there with my face burning, trying not to cry in a restaurant full of people, while my own family treated me like a cautionary tale being used for entertainment. It was supposed to be a nice night. That's the part that keeps making me feel crazy when I replay it. Dad's birthday dinners are usually one of the few events in our family that are safe, because Mum is obsessed with appearances in public. She likes restaurants because there are strangers around, which means she behaves. Dad likes restaurants because he gets attention and doesn't have to clean anything. Chloe likes them because she can dress up and post photos. Ethan likes them because he can drink and zone out. And me? I show up because I still have that stubborn, stupid hope that if we're in public, they'll treat me like a normal person. We'd been at the restaurant for an hour before the toast. It had almost been okay. I'd arrived on time, sat where Mom told me, smiled, handed Dad his gift. I made small talk with Dad's friends. I'd laugh at the safe jokes. I'd even started to relax a little in that tense way you relax when you're constantly monitoring the room. Then my uncle stood up. My Uncle Mark has always been like this. Loud, charming, the type who tells stories at family events, and everyone listens even when the story is mean. He's Dad's older brother, and he's always had this energy of being the family's unofficial judge. He believes in tough love, which is just a fancy label for saying harsh things and calling it honesty. Growing up, he'd comment on my weight, my grades, my friends, the way I dressed. When I was 16 and had a panic attack at a family wedding, he said, loudly, "Here she goes again," like I was performing for attention. When I moved away for work, he said I'd fail and come crawling back. When I did come back, because life is complicated and I needed support, he acted like he'd been proven right. He also has this habit of saying things with a smile. So if you call him out, he can act shocked, like you're the one being rude, like you're too sensitive. And my mom has always enabled it, because Mom hates conflict more than she hates cruelty. If she can keep the surface calm, she'll sacrifice anything underneath. Tonight, apparently, I was the sacrifice. After the toast, I barely heard the rest of the dinner. Conversations blurred. The restaurant noise felt too loud. My face stayed hot. I kept taking tiny sips of water because my mouth was dry, and every time someone laughed, my body flinched like it was expecting the next jab. Chloe leaned over at one point and whispered, "Don't make it awkward," like I had done something wrong by being hurt. Ethan didn't look at me. Not once. He kept his head down, smiling at Dad's friends, making jokes, being the easy son. The pride. The track stayer. Dad was in a good mood, too good. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't acknowledge what Mark said. He didn't even look uncomfortable. He just basked in the attention, clinking glasses, telling stories about his work like he was a celebrity. Every time someone said, "Happy birthday," he smiled wider. Mom kept checking her phone, probably watching for replies to the photo she posted of the table. Her smile kept appearing and disappearing as needed. She didn't look at me either, except once, briefly, when she caught me staring at her. Her expression hardened immediately, like she was warning me not to ruin her evening. I held it in. I did what I always do. I made myself small, but inside it was loud. Inside, I kept hearing the word lesson over and over, like I was a worksheet, like I existed to teach other people how not to be. I tried to tell myself it was just a toast, just a stupid comment. But the reason it hit so hard is because it wasn't new. It was the same story my family has been telling about me for years, just said out loud with a glass raised. I'm the example. I'm the caution. I'm the don't end up like her. And the fact that Mom didn't disagree, didn't even flinch, meant she agreed with the story. When the cake came out, everyone sang. Dad blew out candles. People clapped. Chloe took videos. Mom told the waiter, "We're such a close family." And I almost choked because the sentence felt like a lie spoken into a microphone. After dinner, people stood around outside the restaurant to say goodbye, that awkward car park cluster where everyone hugs and makes plans they'll never follow through on. The night air was cool. The streetlights made everyone look pale and tired. Dad's friends slapped him on the back and told him he doesn't look his age. Mom laughed, proud. Chloe chatted about babysitters. Ethan smoked a cigarette, even though he swears he quit. Mark came up beside me, hands in his pockets, still buzzing from wine and attention. "Hey," he said like we were buddies. "Don't take it so hard. I was just joking." I stared at him. "Why would that be a joke?" I asked. He blinked, then laughed. "Because it's true," he said, as if that answered everything. "Look, kid, you've had a messy path. It's fine. Everyone does. But you can't act shocked when people notice." "I'm not shocked you notice," I said, voice low. My hands were clenched inside my jacket pockets. "I'm shocked you chose to say it in a toast." Mark shrugged. "Keeps people humble," he said. "Besides, your mom didn't mind." That sentence made my stomach drop all over again. I turned my head and looked at Mom. She was standing by Dad, smiling for a photo Chloe was taking. When the photo finished, Mom looked up and saw me watching. Her smile faded instantly. She walked over like she was marching. What? She asked sharp. Mark chuckled and wandered off, satisfied. I swallowed hard. Why didn't you say anything? I asked quietly. Mum's eyes widened, then narrowed. About what? She demanded, like she didn't know. You heard him, I said. He called me the lesson. Mum's jaw clenched. Oh my God, she said under her breath. You are not doing this here. Here, I repeated. So where, Mum? When? Mum's face tightened, panic and anger flickering. He was joking, she hissed. You always do this. You always turn everything into some big emotional moment. My throat burned. It wasn't funny, I said. And you didn't disagree. You smiled. Mum's eyes flashed. Because I'm not going to create drama at your father's birthday, she snapped. I'm not going to embarrass him. Histoire de rire. So, I get embarrassed instead, I said, and my voice broke slightly on instead. Mum's expression hardened like a door closing. You embarrass yourself, she said, with the way you react, with your moods. People don't know what to do with you. That sentence hit me so hard I actually stepped back. The night air felt suddenly too cold. I'm your daughter, I said quietly. Mum scoffed, eyes wet now, not with empathy, more with self-pity. And you're exhausting, she whispered. We can't always cater to you. Cater, like I was an allergy, like my feelings were dietary restrictions. I nodded slowly because my brain was scrambling to keep up with the pain. I looked toward Dad, who was laughing with Ethan, oblivious or pretending to be. Chloe was watching us, eyes sharp, like she was waiting to see if I'd make a scene. The whole family system felt like it was holding its breath, ready to label me dramatic the second I raised my voice. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, okay. Then I walked to my car. My hand shook so badly I fumbled my keys. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the steering wheel until my breathing slowed. My phone buzzed almost immediately. A text from Chloe. Don't start on Mom. It was a joke. You always ruin birthdays. Then a text from Ethan. You all right? I stared at Ethan's message for a long time, thumb hovering. The part of me that still wants connection wanted to type everything. The other part of me, the part that's tired, just typed, no. He didn't reply. Mom didn't text until I was halfway home. You made tonight so stressful. I can't deal with this anymore. Stressful. There was again. My existence is stress. When I got home, I sat on my couch in the clothes I'd worn to dinner and cried so hard my chest hurt. Not because Mark said something cruel. Mark is predictable. I cried because Mom didn't disagree. Because the person who is supposed to protect you from being turned into a punchline watched it happen and chose silence. And now I'm stuck in that horrible loop where I keep asking myself if I'm being too sensitive. If I should have laughed. If I should have let it go. But then I replay the moment. Mark's glass raised, the word lesson said with a smile, Chloe giggling, Dad chuckling, Mom smiling like it was nothing, and my body reacts like it's danger. Because it is. It's social danger. It's the danger of being reduced, publicly, by the people who are supposed to see you as human. The next day, Mom called like nothing happened. She asked if I could help her pick up balloons for Chloe's kid's birthday next week. Her voice was normal, breezy, as if we hadn't had that conversation outside the restaurant. I said no. There was a pause. Excuse me? Mom asked. I'm not helping, I said, voice flat. I'm taking a break. Mom's tone sharpened instantly. From what? From being part of the family? You can't just opt out when you feel like it. I laughed softly because the irony was bitter. You opt me out all the time, I said. Mark just said out loud. Mom went silent, then said, coldly, you need to stop living in the past. It was last night, I said. Mom sighed like I was a burden. I can't do this, she said, and hung up. So that's where I am. My uncle called me the lesson in a birthday toast, and my mom didn't disagree. And now my family is acting like the real problem is that I'm upset about it. Like the cruelty is normal, but my reaction is the disruption. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to stay in contact with people who clearly see me as a cautionary tale, a warning label, a story to tell at dinner parties. I don't know how to look at Mom and not hear her say exhausting. I don't know how to go to the next family event and smile through it like I didn't hear myself reduced to a lesson in front of strangers. And the worst part is, if I try to talk about it again, I already know what they'll say. You're twisting it. It was a joke. You're too sensitive. But when your own mother can listen to you being used as an example of what not to be and not disagree, that doesn't feel like a joke. It feels like a verdict.